When it comes to intimacy, most men think they know exactly what their partners want. But surveys and clinical conversations have shown something very different, because urologists and relationship researchers who have spent years talking to women about their desires often find that there is a huge gap between what women truly crave in bed and what they actually communicate. And the number one reason for this silence is shyness, fear of judgment, or simply the lack of a safe space to talk openly about sex. So when more than 10,000 women were asked anonymously about what they really want, the responses were surprisingly consistent and highly informative, starting with the fact that emotional connection is just as important as physical pleasure, meaning that before any touch or act, women crave reassurance, trust, and the feeling that their partner is present both mentally and emotionally. And this goes beyond just romantic gestures, because what many women want is mindful intimacy, where the man is not rushing, not distracted, but actually engaged in the moment, listening to her body language, asking subtle questions and giving her time to warm up, since most women do not get aroused instantly the way men often do, and that patience is seen as one of the sexiest qualities a partner can show in the bedroom. So when men slow down, use more foreplay, and focus on touch that is exploratory rather than goal-oriented, women report much higher levels of satisfaction. And this is where the data becomes very clear, because over 70% of women said that extended foreplay, which includes kissing, caressing, oral stimulation, and simply taking time to explore different erogenous zones, was far more important to them than rushing into penetration. And yet, in practice, many men cut this stage short, thinking that the main act is what matters most. But the truth is that for women, the journey often defines the destination. And if that journey is rushed or skipped, the destination rarely feels fulfilling. So what they secretly crave but often hesitate to ask for is more attention to detail, more touch, more variety and pace, and more verbal communication. Because another common theme from the responses was the importance of being guided and reassured verbally, not in a clinical way, but in the form of gentle questions, encouragement, or even whispers that show interest and attentiveness. And women say this not only makes them feel desired, but also makes it easier to express what feels good and what doesn't, which breaks the cycle of silence that leaves many partners unsatisfied. And interestingly, many women emphasize the importance of aftercare, which means the moments following intimacy where cuddling, affectionate words, or simple closeness matter greatly. Because for many women, that's when they feel truly bonded. And when men ignore this, it can make the whole experience feel transactional rather than meaningful. So what women crave is not just the act itself, but the entire emotional arc from beginning to end. And in medical discussions, urologists often highlight that female arousal is much more complex than male arousal, involving hormonal, emotional, and neurological factors, which explains why things like stress, insecurity, or lack of trust can completely block pleasure, while empathy, comfort, and a safe environment can amplify it. And another thing women admitted is that variety matters, not in the sense of extreme experimentation, but rather small, thoughtful changes like different positions, different locations within the home, or introducing elements of novelty such as massage oils, slower rhythms, or even role reversals, because these changes keep the spark alive and prevent routine from killing excitement. And this is where men often underestimate the power of creativity in the bedroom, since what women crave is not always intensity or duration, but freshness and attentiveness. And another surprising detail from the survey was that many women wished their partners were more confident in exploring their bodies without fear of making mistakes, because hesitation or mechanical behavior can break the flow, while genuine curiosity, respectful exploration, and willingness to learn create an atmosphere of openness that women find irresistible. And at the same time, they emphasize that respect for boundaries is critical, because craving something new does not mean they want pressure or insistence. And what truly builds trust is when a man shows enthusiasm but also sensitivity to when something does not feel right. So balance becomes key and beyond physical techniques. Many women also admitted that they crave a deeper level of communication outside the bedroom, because talking about sex openly during normal conversations reduces pressure and builds anticipation, making the actual experience smoother and more fulfilling. But since many women fear embarrassment, they wish men would initiate these discussions gently and maturely, showing that their desire to please comes from love and not insecurity. And from a health perspective, urologists point out that when couples address these unspoken needs, sexual health improves dramatically, because satisfaction reduces stress, strengthens the immune system, improves sleep, and fosters a stronger bond that protects relationships from drifting apart. And while men often think performance is about stamina or size, women consistently reported that what they actually crave is attentiveness, empathy, and adaptability, which are traits anyone can learn and practice, making them far more important than any physical attribute. And another significant point was that women crave equality in pleasure, meaning that their orgasms should not be treated as optional or secondary, but as a natural and essential part of the experience. And the data shows that women are far more likely to reach climax when men focus on clitoral stimulation, varied techniques, and emotional bonding. But fewer than 40% of women report experiencing this regularly, which explains the frustration and silence that many carry. So the conclusion is that women are not asking for grand gestures or unrealistic performances, but rather consistent attentiveness, patience, communication, and creativity. And when these elements are present, intimacy transforms from a physical act into a deeply satisfying experience that strengthens both partners. And to put it simply, what women crave in bed but rarely ask for is not complicated. It is about being seen, being valued, being understood, and being given the time and space to experience pleasure without pressure, which ultimately makes relationships healthier, happier, and more resilient.